You can see she's not tame. She's not wanting to hang out with me. What's up all you cool snakes and neonates? How's it going? I hope you're all keeping well. Today we're going to talk about taming your animal. I often get asked, Reptile Rich, how come your animals are so calm, so collective? I also get asked with Alita, how do you get Alita so tame? She's not tame. She just has a high tolerance of me. So when you're talking about a tame animal, you're really talking about how much it tolerates you. People get all hooked up on love and things like that. They start to see things that they want to see and think, oh, the animal's enjoying my company, when it's really got a high tolerance is more likely. There are different levels of tolerance, and you can work all the way up to trust. When you and that animal trust each other, that's always a good thing. Remember, trust is completely different to feeling love and affection and wanting to be with you. The best thing you can hope for with these animals is a level of trust between the two of you, and that is when the magic happens. That's when you will form an awesome relationship with these animals. That animal will trust you, you will trust the animal. Some species are better than others at forming trust with and at tolerance. So Lita here is she is learning to trust me, she's learning to tolerate me. She's not showing affection, she's not looking for me. However, she will let me hold her for a little while. We have our boundaries, and there are certain boundaries we don't cross. There are certain boundaries that we push, like when I tickle her and love on her and give her a cuddle and things like that. But once she's had enough, she lets me know, which is why we have the harness for when we're out for walks and things like that, because when she's had enough, she just goes, ow, down on the floor. Oh, beard. There we go. You see, that's Alita telling me now she's already had enough. She doesn't like being picked up. She doesn't like being manhandled. So this is what we're going to do here. We're going to pop her back down. Yes, we are. You're sillies, you see. So let's pop her back, because she's clearly already had enough. You can see she's not tame. She's not wanting to hang out with me. Enough. She's not wanting to hang out with me. But when she's down on the ground, we have a level of trust. Just take a look at this. Stop it! You sillies! I read at her bedding and look at what she's done right there. Little madam, I can't even get that door all the way open. You're a madam. Now, as you can see, she's still iffy. She'll give me a wee woos. As you can see here, she's tolerating me. She's not being aggressive, she's not biting, she's not tail whipping. She is tolerating me. She's allowing me to do this. Doesn't necessarily mean she's enjoying me doing this. As you can see, she flinches when I touch some certain parts of her body. You can hear her breathing out sharply there, telling me, Dad, leave me alone, please. But as with the snakes and things like that with their heads, I won't give in. Because if I stop touching her every time she asked me to stop touching her, she would become a madam, and she would just always hiss and throw a tantrum at me. So I'm persistent with Alita like this, and I keep doing this. She's only about 3 years old, so she's still got some learning to do. She's still got plenty of life left to learn. And I'm just being gentle. I'm not being forceful, as you guys can see. I'm not squeezing her. I'm just giving her tickles. Hey, sweeties. She quite likes the behind her ears being rubbed. That's where a lot of lizard's sweet spot is. So we start with that. As you can see, when I move on to the rest of her, she starts to know. You see that sharp out breath again. But just constantly reassuring her. She knows I'm not hurting her. She's just being a grumpy little bism. She knows that I am not hurting her. Oh yes, I hear you. So as you can see, Alita is not tame. She just has a high level of tolerance, which we will work on. So sometimes when you meet a dog in the street, or you go around to a friend's house and they've got a cat, they'll tell you, don't touch my cat there, don't touch my dog there. They don't like it. They don't like it when you touch them there. Now, always respect that. However, when I am raising my snakes, snakes don't like their heads and their tails being touched. As you can see here with a snake we took in that was 13 years with someone else, Marge here does not like her tail and her head being touched at all. She quickly recoils. Now, when I raise a snake from a baby, like Mordecai here, I always make a point from a baby touching their heads and their tails. It starts off with their chins, and then eventually they'll let me stroke their head like that. So I can touch Mordecai's head here to no end. I can do the same with Hunter as well. I can touch his tail. I can touch him wherever I want, and he does not mind. None of the snakes mind. This also ensures that when I do kids' parties and things like that with these animals, I know that the kids can touch them wherever and they're going to be safe. But you can see that there. He does not mind one bit. He is not bothered, which is great for health inspections. If I'm removing stuck eye caps, if they have something in their mouth, I can physically do that. I can do it with the false water cobras as well. I've pulled bedding out of the false water cobras' mouths and stuff like that. So always try and desensitize your animals. Get them, just be gentle. Don't ram it on them. Don't force it on them. But gradually over time, work at doing that. As you'll see with our baby red-tailed boa, she's not been trained yet, and she's very sort of iffy with getting parts touched, and we're going to work on that over time, and you guys will see her slowly start to become a big teddy bear like Mordecai here, or like Hunter as well, or any of the snakes really that we have here. So as I approach Hunter here, if I was to go in straight away, I would be taking as food first, friend after. These guys are ambush predators, and instinctively, if you wake them up, the first thing that's going to be on their mind is food. So what I do is I use this hook here, as I mentioned before. I give him a little tickle, so he knows it's Dad coming in. Now I did just film his feeding response, but numpty me didn't press film, I don't think. So we've not actually caught his feeding response, but what he'll do is he'll come racing out. He'll come up to about here. Quick reactions. His tongue flicks will be very quick. That's not him coming out to see you. That's not him going, oh, Dad. You know, he's not a puppy dog. He's running up to the door to see his owner. He's thinking, oh, Dad's got food there. So what I'm doing is I'm stroking him and letting him know it's Dad time. It's not feed time. Now, some people feed in separate boxes. This is completely pointless and useless because you still have to handle and put your animal hand in with the animal, even after it's been fed. Whereas doing this, you're just immediately separating feeding mode and thinking mode. And then we're going to just pop our hand in here, pull them out. I don't have my camera, lady, so this is not easy. And you can see him retreating there. When your snakes are out, 9 times out of 10, they're always bomb-proof as soon as they're out. You know, he had that big feeding response earlier, the first time I went in, but now look at him. See him? I can do whatever I want with him now. He is completely out of feeding mode. Food is the last thing on his mind right now. This is cuddle time and play time. This is Hunter and Dad time. So now we've eliminated that food mode, and this is a snake that 100% trusts me. As I mentioned before, I can stroke his head like this. Look at that there. There's no recoil. There's no trust issues. There is just Hunter and Dad having a nice big cuddle. Now this is an apex predator where he comes from. Females can get to about 18 foot long. One of the largest snakes in the world. Just missing out on that top spot of the reticulated python by a few feet. These guys are giants, but they're also gentle giants as well. I hear people talking about Burmese pythons hissing at them in their enclosures and stuff like that. We did a Burmese python care guide earlier on in the channel. They can be quite vocal and things like that. They can talk to you. It's nothing to be scared of, but another reason these are actually an advanced keeper snake. These are not for beginners. But always watch your animal, read your animal. And to help you build up trust, use that hook. Remember, it's as much about you trusting the animal as the animal trusting you. Okay? The animal could trust you, and you could not trust the animal, and then you're going to act all nervous, and you're going to put the animal on edge. You're going to be on edge, and you're not going to enjoy that handling session. You're not going to enjoy that cuddle. So by using that hook, you can build up your own level of confidence with that animal, build up your trust as well as the animal's trust, and like I say, you can separate that feeding mode, and you can have a big cuddly teddy bear like Hunter here. I mentioned earlier there's different levels of tolerance and trust. Hunter here is the highest level of tolerance and trust. He really is a gentle giant. He is fantastic. We've been working with him for about 3 years now, and he is just an absolute sweetheart. I trust this snake 100%. I know how to read this snake, and there are still dangers. There are still, like I mentioned, pulling him out. If there's a snake in this room that's ever going to tag me, it's probably going to be Hunter. If I make a mistake and I just rush into his enclosure without addressing that I'm coming into his enclosure, not that a mouse is coming into an enclosure. What you're doing is you're addressing your coming in. When you're dealing with an animal, you want to be slow and calm. But once you have put that time in and that effort in to build trust between you and the animal, this is what you're going to be left with, an absolute magical experience with an absolutely magical animal. Aren't you? You're just so handsome. Oh, thank you for the kiss. Yes, I see you. So there is Hunter. The Burmese python. Oh, isn't he beautiful, guys? Look at him. Oh. That right there is a pretty snake. When I'm talking about different levels of tolerance and trust, also take into consideration some species generally tend to be better than others. The Burmese python here is known for being a gentle giant. Some species are a lot more high energy, some species are harder to read, some species like Milkshake will lock themselves in feeding mode and bite everything that goes. That's not a fear, that's not a trust issue, that's a dafty issue. That animal thinks everything is food. So there are individuals as well, like so going back to the tegus. Some people see tegus being all cuddly and nice and cute. Majority of them are like Alita and actually prefer to be left alone. They will just tolerate you interfering with them. Where are you trying to go? You're trying to go and see Roland there. Now when you're dealing with an animal, especially one as little and scaredy as this, she now knows already that I'm coming in. Oh yes, and we've put the red tail, the baby red tail, up in the animal room now. So what I'm going to do is just go around. She knows I'm here. You can see she's very flinchy, unlike the other animals. So there's no messing around. She's been pulled out immediately. And there she goes. Boom. Awkward not doing this with the camera lady in there today. So this is a new snake. So she's not even a year old. She's 6 months old. If that. She's new to the Reptile Rich Army. Now, we are working. She is using that tail. So she's using that prehensile tail there, which is good because it means we could work on touching it and petting it. Hello, sweetheart. Now you can see she's wonderful. She's a really good base. She's a really good starter. However, she's getting, see that flinch there? So she's flinchy. She is not sure yet. She won't let me touch her head like Mordecai would. She's getting there with the chin tickle, so if you let her climb onto you and things like that, there's nothing to be scared of with this animal. She doesn't have a bad bone in her body. Yes, she's unsure of me. She doesn't want to hurt me. Remember how massive and scary we are to these animals. When you're dealing with any animal, especially when you're trying to tame one down, you want to remember that predators come from above, okay? So you never want to tower over the animal. You never want to grab them and be rough with them. You always want to scoop them up. You want to be open-handed. Whenever I'm taming an animal down or dealing with an animal that's unsure of me, I do not grab them. I'm always open-handed, always slow and easy-going. Never flash anything in front of their faces, so she will get a fright. We have been working with her for about, I don't know how long we've had her now, maybe 3-4 weeks, I have been working with her and she is getting there. As you can see, we're already starting to work some magic with her. She is getting desensitized to us here. She is still a tad on the flinchy side, but she is definitely getting a lot better. I wish I'd taken some footage of when she first came, because she hadn't had much human interaction and she was extremely flinchy and jumpy. But she is getting there. But sometimes if you touch her and you see she's sort of pulling her body away from me there, she's flinching as I'm touching her. It's not like the other snakes that I can touch wherever and do whatever I want. I have to be very mindful of what I'm doing here. I need to build that trust up with this animal. This animal needs to learn that I am no danger to it. Even your giant snakes, when they're on the ground, they're only a few inches tall. You're still towering over that animal, so you can still even give those animals a fright. So you want to sort of keep the body level. You want to keep the animal level so it feels at home. You don't want to be dangling it and flailing it around like this. I once seen someone, I can't remember where I seen it, was Facebook or something like that, and he had this snake and he's literally throwing it like this and hanging it, dangling it down, and it's trying to bite him. Of course it's trying to bite him and things like that, because he's making that animal extremely uncomfortable. You keep the animal level, you keep your movement slow and methodical, you keep what you're doing calm. The animal is going to return that favour and is going to very quickly learn that you are not a threat, you're not going to hurt it. We don't have any animals here that are extremely defensive, so I can't show you how to deal with that, but I can show you a nervous animal, which is what this little girl here is still. She's getting there very quickly though. She's learning. Remember, animals and reptiles are not stupid. They're not mindless. They have a thought process, and as long as you take your time and are patient with them, you can deal with that, and she will learn very quickly that I am no threat. She knows that she's going to get fed here, so she's well fed. They're all well housed. And remember, a large part of it as well is the mental sort of enrichment of it. You want the animals to think, so you need to keep the animals thinking. The way I see it is these animals never chose to be here. I chose these animals to be here, and we have kind of imprisoned them. We have locked them in these cells. So it's up to us to keep these cells interesting for them. They're in here every day. Now I try and handle my animals every single day, or every day that I can. Of course, I don't do it through shed cycles or immediately after feeding for 48 hours. But any other time is game, fair game, and I try and handle all the animals every day that I can. It gets them out, gets their minds working, and gets them thinking. What I'll also do is in their enclosures, I'll give them branches to climb on. I'll rearrange their houses all the time, so it keeps their mind thinking. As long as the animal's thinking, the animal's in a happy place and it's doing well. As soon as you lock it in a boring box, leave it alone and let it fester in there, it's never a good thing. Another point to go over if you're taming an animal down as well is if the animal is unsure of you. If you have a particularly defensive animal, you always want to end that handling session on a good note. So if you have an animal that's trying to bite at you, that's really scared of you, that thinks that you're going to kill it and eat it or whatever, and it's biting at you and it's nasty to you, you pull it out and it calms down, immediately put it back again. You want to end that handling session on a good note. Like I mentioned, they're living in these cells for days at a time. They're there with their thoughts, and if you end that handling session on a bad note, they're going to spend all that time in that box festering and thinking, what a horrible time that was, that big nasty thing, that was horrible. Whereas if that animal calms down and you put it back in that box on a calm note, it's going to sit in there and think, maybe that wasn't so bad. But if you continue to handle it after it's calmed down and it goes back to being a bit defensive, it gets a scare, you put it back in, you've ruined that progress, and the animal will sit in that box and think, oh no, that was horrible, that was scary. So if you're dealing with a particularly defensive or unsure animal, always end it on a good note. And as soon as the animal starts to calm down and take it easy, pop it back in that box and come back the next day and do the same again and increase those time periods as well. Once it calms down, maybe give it a couple of minutes, put it back in. Always end that handling session on a good note. It's the best thing and most important thing you can do. And as I say, patience is always a virtue as well. Always make sure that you are not forcing. Like I say, I'm genuinely trying with these animals. You see she's not sure, but she'll take a chin tickle, so we'll work from that and things like that. But I'm not constantly poking at her head, making her uneasy. I'm just giving her the odd stroke here and there. I'm working my way to it so she knows and she feels that I'm not going to hurt her. I'm not a big scary predator. So that's building the trust with the animal. We're going to build our trust here with little Ruby. I think she's going to be called. Samuel called his snake Ruby, but I had Ruby set aside for a female red-tailed boa whenever I got her. She does have a tiny little lump on her side, so for a wee while I was calling her Lumpy, but it just doesn't suit her. I think Ruby is better for her. So I think we're going to call her Ruby, because of course, Ruby Redtail. Isn't it, sweetheart? You can see that I can now start to stroke that chin without a recoil, without a flinch. You can see, as always, I'm open-handed. I'm easy going with her. There's no grabbing, there's no uneasiness. And this snake is returning my calm demeanour. As long as you're calm with them, they will return that. Isn't that right? Some species as well don't like climbing, so sometimes you're better to get on the floor with them and deal with them on the floor. If they're not particularly arboreal species or not particular climbers. Now the red-tails here like to climb, so she's fine like this. Sometimes you're even better getting on the floor with the animal, sitting on the floor with it, getting down to its level, like I say, not towering above it, and getting to know it that way as well can help too. Same with lizards and things like that. Putting yourself in, say, the bathtub, letting them run around on you and things like that can help as well. Get the animal used to being around you. All right, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to build a trust. You're trying to build that. You let that animal know that being around you is not a bad thing. That's exactly what you're trying to do. Because they will probably never love you, but trust is a fantastic thing to build. Because once they trust you, that's when you can enjoy those nice cuddles. Isn't that right, little Ruby? She's so cute. She's doing well. She's had about 3 feeds so far. She's had 1 shed as soon as she came in to see us. As soon as she came home, her shed wasn't great, but we have popped her in that 3-foot viv there. She has some nice humid bedding now, so next time she goes into shed, I have and she has a nice big water bowl to soak in too, because with that recent heat wave we've had, it got really hot here in the animal room, so I had to make sure all the animals were cool enough, and she's got a nice big water bowl for her to soak in if she so desires. Where are you going, sweeties? As you can see, no grabbing her, scooping her, just nicely moving her with the underside of open hands. And she's just investigating. She's checking everything out. You are so wonderful. Yes, you are. You are so cute. I already trust her 100%. I know that she's not going to bite me. She just has a little niggle in the back of her head, a little bit of instinct telling her not to trust something big and nasty like me. So it's up to us, it's up to me to show her that I'm trustworthy. Isn't she wonderful, guys? Yes, you are. You're just wonderful. See, now we're getting there. You can see her flinching away from my head strokes, but we just give her the odd stroke. You can see her there pulling away her tail, so she's not wanting me to touch her tail. But we will just get there over time, just being gentle, very gentle and persistent. And we are going to have a wonderful snake here, I think, guys. We're going to have an absolute gem of a snake. There we go. As with all boas, she doesn't want to go back. You have to trick her into thinking that she wants to go back. There we go. Also, another note is while you're putting them back, either drop them in or let them wander in by themselves. If their tails are out and things like that, don't start grabbing their tail to get them to run in quickly, because that will ruin trust. They'll get a fright with you touching their tail, and that will undo all that fantastic progress you just made. So if her tail was hanging out there and I started nipping it and grabbing it and throwing it in, she would get a fright and she would run in there, and that would end that handling session on a bad note, and it would make her flinchy with her tail. So let her go in herself or plop her in and wait till that tail is out the way. Isn't that a beautiful snake though, guys? I mean, look at that. Yes, you're pretties. You are pretties. Quite boring in there just now, but we're going to get her a branch and things in there. We're going to go branch hunting soon. Oh, all right. Apparently I left Alita's enclosure open. Hello, Alita. Alita, where are you going? You said Ace. So I hope you guys all enjoyed that. As always, like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell button, share the channel around. You guys know what you're doing. You're awesome bunch. Please hit out those comments, because you guys are usually really good with the comments. But the last few videos, I've not had anyone to talk to. Been feeling all lonely. So get on those comments, guys, and let me know you're watching, and let me know what you think of these videos. Also, let me know if you're sharing the channel around, if you're telling your friends and things like that, guys. If this video helped you at all, or if this video helped, or you think it'll help someone you know, let me know. Yes, handsome. Let me know in the comments below. So from me, Mordecai, and the rest of the gang, guys, take it easy. Peace.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.
Yes, yes, you are tame. Yes, we know you're tame. Yes, you're just lovely. You're a lovely man, aren't you? Yes, you are. Just head scratches.